is a 10-day update. We're finally getting some real leaves on some of these plants, which would be some of those rougher looking ones in the middle. I learned that in one of the books that I got. I got some onion that is doing really, really well. Flowers. And then a couple things that are still taking their sweet time. And then over here on this tray, we have some parsley finally coming through. And it was so cool because when these little guys came out, they were pure yellow because they were covered, which makes sense. They didn't have any light yet. And just in a matter of days, they have grown into these green little sprouts. Look at this little guy right here. And the ones that I transferred over, the ones that I thinned out, they seem to be doing pretty well finally. So we'll see how those grow. Hi, Prince. We're all enjoying the sunshine here, sunbathing. So check this out. More moldy sticks. I don't know what to do, you guys. I'm definitely going to clean these off with some bleach water, but I'm done with these sticks. Like, I don't know what to do. It's just a waste of money to keep throwing them out. These are the seeds that I transferred over from the filters, and they are doing so great. They're so beautiful. Look how green and strong that they're becoming. And these are the tomato plants that I put in here just so that I didn't have to transfer them over later. I put them in some bigger containers just to start. But my concern about the mold, you guys, like, seriously, this is just, I feel like it's almost inevitable. I mean, the environment you need to provide for them is warm. They need to be in the dark a few hours of the day, and they're wet. So that is the total atmosphere that helps mold grow, and I don't know how to prevent this from happening. And I knew ahead of time that that was a big concern for these paper towel rolls. I knew that there was a chance I'd have to throw some of them away, but I mean, that is insane. Look how much mold is growing in there. So I'm trying to let them air out as much as possible in the natural sunlight and just kind of kill off as much of the mold as I can. I just really don't understand how to prevent this when I am creating the environment it grows in. So if you know, or if you've had experience with this and you know what to do to prevent it for next time, I would appreciate it. Seeds are just like us. They're all unique and they all grow on their own time. Look how interesting this is. All of these have grown already, some from the filter, some in the soil, and then look at this little patch. Put in at the same exact time and there's still nothing. Same here. Look at all these empty spots. But that one's grown, and then these are from the filter that have grown, empty. I think we have a little baby one sprouting right here. But it's all on its own time. And it's interesting to see that you really can't rush this process. And I'm not even sure if we're really going to get sprouts from all of them. So here's the kale. It's doing very well. We got some real leaves coming up, and these two I think I'm going to get rid of today. They just got way too leggy, reaching for the light. They are on the edge, so they were leaning this way, and the stem is just way too weak. I don't really think they're going to make it. And I have some here that I need to thin out anyway, so I think I will replace them with some of these stronger ones. And then we got some late bloomers over here. Cabbage is doing well. This one got leggy, but it doesn't seem as weak as the other ones. I'll just keep my eye out on this, but this one needs to be thinned for sure. So I might switch it out with one of these. And keep in mind that these are all the ones that I transferred over from the filters when they germinated there, and they're doing really well. I'm actually surprised. And then we have a couple pods here that have nothing growing in them, and I'm not sure if it's just not going to happen and I should just put something else in there, or if I should just be patient and wait. These are my favorite. Look how great the onions are coming in. Again, got some late bloomers, but they're coming. I can even see this tiny, tiny, tiny little one here. And then look at the flowers. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I still haven't thinned them out, but I'm just gonna let them do their thing. I really want a lot of flowers, so I want to try to get as many as I can, but check out all these pods here that still have nothing growing from them, and I love seeing this. I love seeing the leaves pushing through the dirt. This has been such a cool experience, and it's awesome to just see how willing they are to grow. That's what's so cool about this. Like, they are pushing their way through and making things happen. So these are the ones from the filters, and look how great they're doing. I mean, that is like significant growth compared to the ones that were growing in the soil. So that's something really good to know for next time. Broccoli. We got the black kale coming in, just great. Kale seems to be doing fine. Cauliflower. I'm gonna have to thin some of these out. And then we finally got the parsley growing. So that's that. And then these are the ones that I got from the coffee filters and then put them in the paper towel rolls, and they're doing good. I mean, we have a tiny bit of mold here, but last week I did go through and wipe it all off, and it seemed to really work, and I have watered them since, but they do need watering right now. And I did put a couple in each one. I'm not going to thin these ones out. I'm just going to go with it. And then here we got some tomatoes growing. And these tomatoes, I know it seems a little early, but these ones took a lot longer, or were supposed to take longer to germinate. So that's why I did start them earlier, and I did put them in bigger pots just to give them room to grow. All right, so this is my plan for today. I have these bigger containers, and I'm finally going to get started on these pepper and tomato seeds. And this is kind of how I have it laid out. There are 9 little cells per container thing. So my plan is to do 3 Roma tomatoes, 3 black cherry tomatoes, and I already have 2 other tomatoes that are, or 2 other tomato plants that are already growing. I know tomatoes come in huge batches, and I really don't want to be overwhelmed and have way too much to harvest. And since this is my first time, I really don't know what to expect. I found this great website. I will link it in my description, and it has a pretty good estimate of how many plants per person you should grow and how much you will yield from each plant. So kind of going with that, I'm going to be doing 4 jalapeno plants. We love jalapenos, and I do plan on pickling some, so it's going to be these 3 and then this little pod. And then we love shishito peppers, so I'm going to do 2 plants per person based on that website. And same with regular sweet peppers. I cook with them all the time, so I'm going to do 2 per person. We'll get those started today. I am also starting eggplant, basil, cucumber, and some flowers today. So eggplant, I will be doing 3 plants per person, so I will have 6 in total. And I don't want to have too many eggplants. Every time we buy them, we end up having to throw some away because they just go so bad. So I'm trying to be realistic, and I don't want to waste any produce. Same with cucumber. The website said that you should grow 6 plants per person. We just don't eat that much cucumber. Even when I have it here, it just ends up getting bad. So I'm only going to do 3 per person. Basil, I know with herbs, the more you pick them, the larger they grow, the more they grow. So I don't think I need too many plants since they will just continue to harvest on their own. So I'm going to do 6 per basil. I love basil. I cannot wait to get this Tulsi basil going and just use it for teas. I do drink that tea already, so it'll be cool to have it from my own garden. And then I'm going to get started on these 2, and this one will be left empty. Oscar really wants to play with the ball, so he's not letting me forget it. And then I have these fava beans. I am so excited to start. I am going to actually start these in their own pot. And I'm going to fill the bottom of this pot with some dried leaves, cardboard, get my soil in there, and hopefully I won't have to do too much with these afterwards. And I plan on growing, I don't know, I have to space them 6 inches apart, so as many as I can get into this pot I'm going to seed. And that is the project for the day. Oh, and I'm also planning to see what is germinating in there and ready to get transferred into some soil, and then that's what I will use these empty pods for. Here is my setup for today, and here I have probably 2/3 of the seed starting potting mix, and then I did add some regular potting soil into it as well, because these are going to be bigger cells and they're going to be living, these seeds will be living, well, seeds turned into plants will be living in these containers much longer, so I did want to incorporate some potting soil into them. And then I will be adding these. I decided there's only a couple seeds that have germinated enough to get transferred into soil, so instead of using this, I'm just going to remove this, and then I'm going to add I'm going to put these into some paper towel roll cells and then just lay them in here. And I did want to say something about this. So the first time I did it, it was really hard just throwing the soil into these cells and then watering them that way until they were damp, because the dry soil was just overflowing everywhere and it took much longer than I thought. So what I have discovered is if I dampen the soil first and then put them in there with this spoon, it makes it so much easier and much quicker, and then the soil doesn't become too soggy. Okay, so I have the soil in here. I'm going to pat it down now because we don't want any air pockets in there. And I didn't fill them all the way up because I'm going to lay the seeds in first and then cover with about another inch. But as you can see, as I'm patting it down, not super firm, but just to get any of that air out, look how much it goes down. So I will definitely need to add about another spoonful before I put the seeds in. And the soil is perfectly damp, not too much where it's spongy. And I'm also going to bottom water these after I put the seeds in and before I put them underneath the lights, so the soil will get a little more wet. And look at my nails, so cute, right? Usually for my food videos, I always make sure to have my nails well kept and painted, and I have just been doing so much with dirt and cleaning and just getting things ready that it just makes no sense to paint them. This is real life, guys. Get your hands dirty. It feels so great. Just so you can get a good idea of how much soil you'll be using, when I started, this was completely full and I have only filled up 9 of these cells. But keep in mind, I could have started them in the smaller cells. I would have used less soil, but eventually I would have had to transfer them over to a bigger container because peppers and tomatoes grow so quickly and so big, and I'm really trying to do this in a budget-friendly way. So instead of having to start with something small like this and then get into these, I'm just skipping this part altogether, and I'm going to start the bigger plants in these ones. Save a little bit of time, money. Actually, I think it'll save a lot of money because soil can add up, and it'll save a lot of time as well. A lot of videos on YouTube also talk about sifting your soil, and I really haven't. I've just kind of been going through and taking out bigger pieces, but maybe it's a good idea. Found this huge rock in there. But for the most part, the soil is so fine that any real big chunks, you can easily see them without having to sift. So do what feels right to you, but I don't mind putting my hands in here and just going through the bits and pieces. But this is seed starting mix, so I do feel like there isn't much in here to really go through. I wanted to show how important it is to label everything. As you can see, these seeds look identical. This is the sweet peppers and this is the shishito peppers. So I will definitely remember where each one is. Now I'm going to just lightly tuck them in there and then put about another inch of soil on top, and these will be ready to go underneath the lights. If you're wondering why I'm not using a shovel, This spoon was actually perfect to put the soil into the smaller pods and just going with it. Take these things out. And fun fact, I also don't even have a shovel yet. Like, I am starting from scratch, from the very beginning here. Look how cool these marigold seeds are. I love them. I'm only going to plant 6 cells of them because I am going to do more. And when the weather's better, I'm just going to sow directly into the big pots that I want them in outside. But I'm going to get started a little early. These are really good for keeping deer out. That's what I read. So I do want to get a little head start so I can grow some of them along the beds with some of the produce and keep as much deer out as I can. Look how tiny these seeds are. So I covered the holes I originally had for them. I'm just going to lay them right on top and then cover with just a tiny bit of soil. So little. This is a lot of work, guys. So, got the seeds all in there. And before I put them up, I'm going to add some water to the bottom of these trays and let them soak for a minute. Then I will label them and they shall be good to go. Seeds do need to be covered, so I do have some plastic coverings for them. And I will be adding some of these paper towel roll cells in this tray, and that'll have tomato and some flowers in them. If you don't know what bottom watering is, it is filling the tray or anything. You can, if you're doing this for house plants, you can fill a bowl, a tub, a sink with water, and then you place the plants over the water, and it allows the roots to suck up as much water as they need, and then they'll stop chugging when they're satisfied. And I'm just doing this now. The water or the soil is pretty damp already, so I really only put like a tiny layer on the bottom, and then I'll empty out the excess. And these shouldn't have to be watered for, the last seeds I did, they probably didn't even need to be watered until like the first week was up, because the plastic lids keep a lot of the moisture inside. And yeah. No, this is it. Okay, I got lazy and I only did these 3. So this is the tomato and tomato, and this one looks very weak. I'm not sure how it'll do. And honestly, I really didn't want to do any more of these because I will be overwhelmed with tomatoes. And then these are just some pampas flowers. I am so shocked how slow these are germinating. These are the ones that were in the coffee filters compared to the ones that were planted in the soil. Those are already completely taking off. So I bunched these together. There's about 3 of them. And then once the rest are done germinating, I'll put them in the rest of these rolls. Everything here has been watered. Of course, I need to take these sticks out in order to cover them, but I just wanted to make sure they were properly labeled first. And in order to prevent mold from growing on these sticks, I'm just going to place them on top of the plastic and hopefully nothing gets knocked down. Actually, I think I will tape them on top, and then that way I just pull the plastic up and know exactly where they are. I threw in some dried leaves and made sure I didn't get any ticks on me in the process. So this is going to be the bottom layer. I'm going to start filling it with potting soil, and I will keep you updated if this is actually a good idea or not. I'm kind of just using this as filler and then to help with compost. I'm not going to put compost in this pot yet until I get some growth going, and we'll see. All right, there is my first layer of outdoor potting soil. Now I'm going to add in a little bit of the seed starting mix. Since I am starting the seeds in here, I really want to make sure the soil is light enough for the seeds to grow through. But they will be staying in here, so it also needs the nutrients and the real soil that it can stay in. Just added in some perlite as well. I'm going to give that a good mix with the potting soil as well. So just really mix that in there. And then the rest of this will be the outdoor potting soil. I got it all mixed in. It's a very light, sandy soil, which is perfect for containers. I sifted through it, broke down any big chunks that were in there, take out all the little bits that aren't necessary. I'm going to now lay the fava beans right on top of the soil, 6 inches apart. And then I will do one more layer of potting soil on top of those, and then I'm going to leave some room because once we get some growth, I'm going to layer on a pretty good inch, maybe, of compost. This is my 3-week update on these seeds that I started. We're getting some growth. It's not looking very pretty, but I have a little bit of faith. I was worried about these browning leaves, and I did read that those are the first leaves that appear, and then once the true leaves come through, those ones will slowly start to yellow or brown and then fall off. So it looks like we're doing good. Like, we got the true leaves and then the old ones are coming off, but I mean, some of these are just falling over. I don't know if that's normal. And I'm trying to stay hopeful because I know that I did plant more than I probably needed. I probably don't need every single one of these, but now that we're getting closer to putting them out in the garden, I just really hope we have some good ones, at least the majority. These are the onions. The tops are frying a little bit, so I made sure to raise the light. And everything's looking really strong. I just fertilized for the very first time. I didn't get to these because the soil's still wet and I'm really afraid of overwatering. So as soon as these dry out, I will use it. And I did it on these ones over here. So we're getting some good growth. We have some parsley coming through. All the kale is doing well. All the kale is doing well. And I'm still concerned about this red cabbage. The only ones that are really growing are the ones that I germinated in the coffee filters, which is this row right here. And then we have a couple here and one growing. So I'm hoping they're just slowly coming through. But if not, I will thin that one and put it in its own. I'll thin that one over there, put it in its own. And then I do have some in the paper towel rolls, so hopefully that'll be enough cabbage for a while. But look at how pretty everything is. We'll see how the fertilizing goes. This is the fertilizer. I got mine from Lowe's, and it's a low concentrate one. And I'm a little scared doing it for the first time, so the recommendation is 8 pumps per gallon of water, and I put 4 pumps in here. I read everywhere that less is more when it comes to fertilizing, and just, you know, if you're not sure, use less. So that's what I did. And I have some of these, they need to be watered. Tomatoes. Oh, these are flowers. So this was just an empty extra box that I'm gonna eventually fill up. I already fertilized these today as well. Some flowers, cauliflower, kale, and cabbage here. They look so great. Like, these ones seem to be doing so well, which is crazy. And I will say that the paper towel rolls do dry out much quicker. I do need to water these so much more than I need to water the ones in plastic. So keep that in mind if you do decide to use this technique. Make sure you have the time to water them. And they get bone dry, which you're not supposed to let them get to. So these do require more time, patience, and attention, but they're working great, and the mold is staying pretty low, especially because they are drying out so quickly. Got some tomatoes here. They're doing so good. Look how beautiful. They are leggy, but I have kept the light on them pretty much the whole time, so I'm not too worried. The stems, I think, will get stronger, and then I know that you are supposed to plant tomatoes pretty far down, so hopefully I can get these to stand up better, get a little stronger, but we'll see. And I also let these sit in some fertilized water as well. Okay, this is the part I am so excited about. Like, I am mind blown. It is Saturday today. I started these seeds on Wednesday, okay? Wednesday of this week. Oh my gosh, look at that. That is so insane. So the ones back there, those are cucumbers. These are marigolds, and then the ones all the way, and then the ones back here are basil. I cannot believe it. Like, this is just so crazy. So I'm going to keep it a little propped off. I am so amazed. I still have the sticks up here so that they weren't going to get moldy. And I'm only going to keep this lid on here maybe one more day, and then I'll take it completely off. But it's incredible. Like, that is just wow. These are lavender. I think these are the ones I took out of the coffee filters. I mean, lavender is pushing real slowly, so we'll see how those go. I'm not expecting too much out of them, but this is my little home setup. Nothing fancy, but it's doing its job, and I'm so grateful that I have the space to start these inside. I have 3 lights hanging, and I will have a video or list how much I've spent on all of this so far. I really am trying to do it on a budget, and I got these lights at a really decent price, so I'm happy with the setup. We got this table in here. I can fit pretty much, I think, all the trays that I have. I'll be able to fit them in here, and I will be transferring some of this out to the garden outside in containers before the next seeds that I get planted. So one night I discovered these teeny tiny orange balls all over the cardboard. I had no idea what it was. I initially thought it was some sort of eggs growing all over the cardboard and even inside of the soil. It freaked me out, and I asked around. Apparently this is some sort of mold, and this is the normal process the cardboard goes through in order to break down, and me fertilizing it just seemed to set it off quicker than I really wanted it to. So there you have it. This is mold. Apparently it's not bad for the plants.